I'm Alexis. I'm a software engineer based in Buenos Aires with 3 years of experience, primarily in the fintech space, and currently working at a legal tech startup. What was the hardest technical problem I faced? Well, the most challenging project I've tackled was developing a risk analysis model, which is the core of our company's investment decisions. There were a few things that made this project a real challenge. First, we needed to provide immediate feedback to the user, so the calculation had to be fast and responsive. However, the underlying logic was combinatorial, which is inherently time consuming to process. Additionally, we had to work within strict budget limits, meaning we couldn't spend much on new servers or specialized hardware. And on top of that, the business rules were constantly evolving. It was already complex, and now I was adding one or two new rules every week that affected the prediction outcome. So, how did I approach this? I realized that to meet all these requirements, I need to rethink the architecture. I decided to move the calculations to the client side. This obviously cut out the network delay and saved us from having to add more servers. But there was still a problem. To handle the performance aspect, I replaced the backtracking algorithm with a dynamic programming algorithm using memoization. And well, this sped things up without losing any accuracy. So now it was possible to run it on the client. And to manage the constant updates, I implemented regression tests so I could iterate quickly without breaking the algorithm. As a result, 99% of the cases now process in under 2 seconds and all cases in less than 5. What was the project where I took on the most ownership? In my current role, I basically handle the automation for our entire pipeline, from finding investment leads to tracking the final returns. I've been wanting to use AI to filter these cases for a while, but I ran into a few roadblocks. Early on, the models just weren't quite there yet, and by the time they improved, the costs were still way too high for the volume of data we handle. So I just kept an eye on things, waiting for that sweet spot where the cost benefit actually made sense. And in the meantime, we had data entry staff doing the job, and since it was cheap, I could just stop there. But I kept experimenting on the side until I found the right model and the right prompt to make it work within our flow. My boss wasn't sure at first because the manual process worked fine and it was cheap. So we did run a test with one data source and saw that the AI matched the manual work 90% of the time, but only a tenth of the cost. And since then, we've been replacing those manual filters with AI. What am I looking for in my next role? I found that I truly enjoy automating the complex aspect of a project, the parts that are often avoided because they involve difficult math, complex integration, or strict regulations. I enjoy making these complex areas simple. To me, that's the difference between a standard product and a high quality one. Fintech has been a great place to apply this, but I'm really excited to solve similar problems in other sectors.